Welcome into Wager Talk TV. I am Drew Martin, joined by Tony Mejia and Bryan Leonard of WagerTalk.com. We are talking 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific kick here. Oregon Ducks hosting the UCLA Bruins. Tony, coming to you first. We get the Ducks -6 in Eugene. High total here, total of 70. What do you like in mid-afternoon on Saturday, Tony?
Well, I'm liking how both these teams have looked. This is the best team that Chip Kelly has had. The lone undefeated team remaining in the Pac-12, and obviously these are the only two teams undefeated in conference play. Oregon has really bounced back nicely after that 49-3 loss to Georgia. Dan Lanning, formerly the defensive coordinator at Georgia, won a national championship there and then got destroyed in his debut with the Ducks, and he's had them rebound nicely. They're averaging nearly 57 points at home, at Autzen Stadium, where we could get a sellout crowd. We'll get a sellout crowd. Could get a standing room only crowd of over 60,000. College game day is going to be there, and the Ducks are 5-0 historically in top 10 matchups at home. Have never lost, undefeated, as LeVar Ball would say. But this is going to be a tough matchup, and I think I will lean to taking the points here with the Bruins. This is the third time Chip Kelly's gone back to Autzen Stadium, hasn't won there yet. They lost last year by 34-31 count, rallying from being down 14-0. The Ducks did. The Bruins led early, and then 34 out of 37 points were scored, and ended up taking down the Bruins there. And then Mario Cristobal goes down to Miami. So Oregon's got new leadership. A new quarterback with Nix at the helm, and they've really done a really nice job there over the past few weeks in being consistent on both sides of the ball. It looks like health-wise, the Ducks will be able to have a starting safety back and come in relatively healthy. But from the standpoint of UCLA, Zach Charbonnet has been dominant. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, best season yet, and he's been really clutch in terms of making accurate passes and not making mistakes. We'll see if they hold up on the road, because their only true road game to this point has been at Colorado. They led early 14-0 and did not have that lead go under double digits the rest of the way. So this will be a true test for Thompson-Robinson and for Charbonnet in that offense and Chip Kelly. But I think the spread is a little too high. They'll definitely have to deal with a raucous Autzen Stadium. But the one thing that Utah game showed me, even though it was at the Rose Bowl, UCLA's pretty tough this year physically. They can hang with the big boys. Utah's arguably the toughest team in the Pac-12. They'll throw blows at you. UCLA counterpunched and actually dominated that game down the stretch. So that gives me a little bit of hope that they can hang on the road in a tough one. Oregon might win, but I don't think it will be by that high a margin. So I would take the points with the Bruins.
Good stuff, Tony. Bryan, coming to you next. One thing, I agree with Tony. UCLA looked strong against Utah. It actually surprised me. I lost on that bet. And going into this matchup, is UCLA going to be able to do the same thing, like at the point of attack against Oregon? I think is a big part of this equation here, Bryan. Plus, wanted to throw something out with Bo Nix, the quarterback for Oregon. One thing I've noticed watching a lot of his games, Bryan, is I'll actually look to bet on him against defenses that aren't that good, aren't that talented, but against the really good defenses like we saw against Georgia in the beginning of the season, that's where he really struggles. It's just his athleticism doesn't show the same against those good front seven defenses. I'm not really sure if UCLA has that caliber of defense to really hone him down, but I do agree with Tony. I mean, -6 seems like a lot to me. How are you feeling in Eugene on Saturday?
Yeah, Nix has always done very well at home as opposed to on the road. And as we all know, Oregon's got one of the best home field advantages in college football. The only problem is this is an afternoon game. Very similar to, I believe we had LSU last week. We talked about that in that regard. Afternoon game in Oregon takes away some of their advantage at all. I apologize. My cat is already telling me he's in big favor of the Ducks. So yeah, he's got Ducks on his mind. But keep in mind, both these teams are coming off of byes. So they were off last week. Neither team has a look ahead. Tony talked about the importance of this game between UCLA and Oregon. So I think you're going to get the best ability out of both these teams. He talked about the Ducks since they lost that original game against Georgia and really bad fashion. Nobody's paid much attention to the Ducks since. They have quality wins over BYU. They went to Washington State, what I think is a pretty good football team, and won that game on the road. What I am really interested in here is the scoring margin and being able to get up and over this total. Both teams can run the football. They're doing a terrific job on the season. The Bruins are averaging 5.5 yards per carry. The Ducks 6.22 yards per carry. I think both teams will have some success offensively in this one. I was a little bit feeling the same way as you guys were about Oregon originally with that line, but then I went back and looked at some of the key metrics I look for in college football, and maybe they were an afterthought after losing to Georgia, but I think they deserve to be in this price range. Keep in mind, the last two times these two faced off, Oregon beat UCLA by field goal each time. That was the last 2 weeks. So you've got a close history in this matchup, the current matchup. And you've got two teams. 6 is a little bit high in my regard. So I think I'd join you with this one with UCLA. But I'm more looking towards this game to go up and over the total, as I think both offenses have an advantage here.
Yeah, we're seeing the total 69.5, as high as 70, guys. So this is going to be a fun one on Saturday in the Conference of Champions. You heard from Bryan Leonard, Tony Mejia. I am Drew Martin, as we're talking about the different lines here, guys. 69.5, 70, Oregon -6. Best place to check that out in the industry is the free live odds screen, wagertalk.com. Just click on the live odds tab on the website, wagertalk.com.